You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life feels lemons, just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds, and when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me.
The circuit Gilles Villeneuve, a place of true racing action. For many, it's a street circuit. For many, it's a street circuit that feels like a road course. And the reason why is because this has so much character to it. Racing in the St. Lawrence River in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. This is one that I'm sure everyone wants to get up to a high level and a high standard. We're at the 8th week of racing here in this championship, and that means one thing, and one very important thing when it comes to the action that we've got. It means that there are not many chances left to score the all-important points which determine a championship here for your UK Sim Racing MX-5 Pro Series. We're on the fringes of practice at the moment here with ESPN live on the iRacing portal, and here with you for some amazing stuff going on YouTube as well. My name's Jake Sperry. Joining alongside me today is Sam Cooper Bennett for the ride as we get ourselves into play around this 13-turn, 4.36 kilometer titan of a circuit. And well, the key here is going to be precision today, Sam. I feel this is a street circuit, of course, and aside from a very long final sector, every single corner demands the utmost precision.
Yeah, and if you get it wrong, you're going to end up in one of those famous walls that a lot of famous drivers have ended up in, and most notably the Wall of Champions on the exit of that chicane. But that twisty and bendy infield section is where you're going to gain or lose a lot of time around here. And just a quick note, a very special, feels very special to come here, especially with Formula 1 bit not being here for the last 2 years. It's always nice when iRacing comes here.
Always is, and this is a track which by every single metric should be raced and loves to be raced. It's a place which gathers so many fans. Often this is a place which breaks attendance records when it comes to Formula 1, and truly this is a circuit that matters and makes a difference. If you haven't had the chance already though here, ladies and gentlemen, with ESPN, got the opportunity to like, to share, to subscribe for more great content that is brought to you by the team here. There's a lot of work that gets done behind the scenes and a lot of series keep in the back of your minds. But let's start thinking towards our championship standings at the moment. We don't have the drop rounds implemented as of yet, but I'm sure they'll be coming up pretty soon. Dan Hunt has control of the championship, 122 clear of Roy Viveka in second position, 2,174 for Roy. And then it's Martin Sampson in third place, 188 points down. So, again, Dan Hunt has that race win or that race crash in the back pocket, but it seems more and more lately that he's been going to that well and has been fortunate that other drivers around have been doing good. But the point that I'd say in counterbalance to that really here, Sam, Vincenzo Amico, Dan Bristow, those two drivers alone are probably up there fighting for the title along with Dan Hunt.
Yeah, Amico has been flying up that championship table ever since he made his debut quite a number of weeks ago now. Dan Bristow, as ever, is always right up there with the top guys and always picks off a win here and there. Another mention, another name I've got to mention is Peter Van Gool. Is starting to slowly make his way up the table as well after a poor early start, so keep an eye out for him too.
Yeah, he's 12th in the championship right now and expecting to gain a bit more on top of that here today with notable absentees. But now we're in full focus mode. Qualifying has just got itself underway. 15 minutes, no escape rule in full effect for this one as they go on by. They've got to be completely alert to what they are doing. If they crash the car, that's it. They cannot qualify here today. AM category, though, looks pretty cut and dry at the moment. Andy Maxwell was very much in the fight for it last season, just lost out to Martin Sampson, and is very much in the same boat again this season. He is leading AM in 6th position in the championship, and well-deserved by the way that he can consistently finish.
Yeah, Maxwell has been absolutely on it the last few weeks and is slowly but surely starting to creep away from Charles Kellyman now. Kellyman had a difficult round last time out at Watkins Glen. Will be looking to pick himself up again this week and claw some of those points back.
Yeah, and those points are going to be very difficult to come by, so keep an eye on that championship as it goes through. Speaking of championships closing up, though, it was a great close-up for the team's championship at this moment in time, mainly due to the fact that Optical Blue had a pretty shocking week of things, and the gap is down to 314 points between Optical Blue and Momo. Optical Green in the fight there, 519 points back, but once again, it is about focus here in terms of championship action because, again, Ronin Simsport have the drop rounds, and for the team's championship, that could easily come in handy.
That it can, and again, just like we mentioned with Vincenzo Amico, his team is also firing up the point standings, less than 1,000 points behind Optical Blue. Still plenty of racing left to go, again with those drop rounds in play as well. Watch out for them come Long Beach later in the season.
I'm also keeping an eye out on the clean racing side, an incident per race. Currently top of that in terms of both incidents and then per race is Charles Kellyman. Off of his 24 starts this season, he's had 10 0x races and an incident rate of 2.13. His closest challenger in that category is Dale Benison, just 5 points behind with one less race run so far. 2.43 incidents per race, also with 10 0x races over the course of the season. Shows you how much you can really gain when you get 10 0x's over the course of a season here, Sam. 10 0x's, remember, it's 5 bonus points every time you get one. So the likes of Kellyman and Benison, that's an extra 50 points in the back pocket.
Yeah, and there's always that little bit of an incentive if you can have a clean season. Obviously, we saw that from Charles Kellyman last season, and we're seeing it again from him this season. He's having another clean season, but like I said, there's another one in the books. You've got another one trying to get those extra 50 points, and going to be interesting to see how many more try and pick that up. But a lot of people have been in a lot of bumps and scrapes this season, so it's not going to be easy to pick out who it's going to be.
No, I certainly agree. Let's just put this into perspective, by the way. Half as many starts this season for Mr. P. Lee out there, and has had 12 starts and 82 incidents. That tells you how clean Charles Kellyman is. With double the starts, he has still only 60% of the incidents, so he's been doing really well. First times then, about to come up onto the board, Pete Newman making his charge then in the Pure Sims Esports outfit. He's looking just for victories out there as his championship challenge this season is over. A 54.9 very much would put nicely into perspective what is needed. But Amico, my word, what a lap that is to start things off. A 54 flat.
Yeah, great time by Amico, and that's just going off on what we've said already about him. Had a very impressive start to his UK sim racing career, and still continuing that again as Andreas Katz late into the session here tonight, but that hasn't slowed him down. A 54.6, but still 0.6 of a second off Amico.
I know it was the Devils 1 minute 54, but it wasn't enough to really close in enough then on that time. Dan Hunt goes third fastest, 54.7 out there on track. The only DOF Reality Car Sim Racing Studios machine there in the field today. So a lot of work to be done. Steve Hansford puts a time good enough for 8th position, a 159.3 out there overall. So it's going to be a case of finding time, I would say, fairly quickly out there at the moment. So this is going to be a very interesting qualifying session indeed. So a lot of drivers will be in focus mode now, trying to get those times in on the board and keeping an eye out on what they can do and what potentially can be done over the course of these laps. And we've been talking about how some drivers are in trouble when it comes to qualifying here today. They will not be starting qualifying. Alan Toon, for example, is out of qualifying and he's got to start from the pits, races 2 and 3. Sampson out of qualifying, cannot start on the grid in race 2. McBarry is not here today, so will not be able to serve the penalty. Lutz is out of qualifying as well, and that is all down to work that needs to be done. So that will definitely be a focus point for the next races that come in. And a bit more of a change. Pete Newman once again back to the top, a 53.966, first to break the barrier. Every reason to be excited about that time coming down on the board, especially when you consider now Charles Kellyman has just gone 5th fastest.
Yeah, great time for the AM driver as he out-qualifies his close rival Andy Maxwell. The optical green driver got a bit of wing mirror damage though, coming down through the towards the chicane, but not going to worry him too much. He's having a good night here tonight so far, looking to, like I said earlier, trying to get some more points back from Maxwell.
Well, this is what we see quite a bit when it comes to this series. Some drivers have a good track, some drivers have a not so good track. It might just be that Charles Kellyman has a vibe here with this circuit, Gilles Villeneuve circuit. So we'll see how it goes. Still half of qualifying left to go. We're down to 8 minutes at this point in time. One driver who hasn't set a representative lap so far is Anthony Larson. Another one is Daniel Bristow. That will definitely be worth keeping an eye out over the course of this qualifying. So just keep that in the back of the minds, because there is still going to be a long, long way to go in terms of some amazing sim racing action. But Hansford with work to do. You got a lot of drivers there looking like they've got some work to do, and it's very, very notable here in terms of absentees that there is just the sole Momo car here tonight. There's no Jamie Ayres, there's no Peter Van Gool. They're both taking a night off, it seems, and it's leaving Steve Hefford down to man the ship.
Yeah, and that could spell trouble for Momo. They've been on a charge recently, trying to get themselves back in touch with Optical Blue, and Unfortunately, Optical Blue are out in force again here tonight, and it's going to make it very difficult for Momo to even think about clawing some of those points back as Newman goes fastest once again.
Yeah, another 3/10 gained. Amico closed the gap down by 0.2 of a second, so it's now a 2/10 gap up at the top of qualifying. Hefford's 56.6 doesn't quite get the job done. Anthony Larson goes second, only briefly though, because it's Daniel Bristow who moves up the order with a really nice time. Maxwell's just gone to 6th fastest with his 54.2. Suddenly, it's starting to light up from what was a comfortable position for Steve Hefford. He's now outside the top 10 and 11th place. Ralph Cullinan now up into 8th fastest. So Newman, Bristow, Larson, Amico, Hunt. Who said that top 5 when we were starting quali?
I mean, 4 of that 5 are the usual suspects when it comes to racing. Larson probably going to be very happy with that one. That's the highest he's qualified since he made his debut at the start of the season.
Steve Cooley jumps up to 12th fastest, then a 56.3. And let's talk about how difficult this track is to get right. We sometimes say it has to be pinpoint accurate. A lot of these chicanes are the stars of corners here, Sam, where you have to just thread a needle through it and it's single file. Yeah,
I mean, as long as you don't do what Sebastian Vettel did a couple of years ago and go across the grass and blame it on somebody else, but that's just my opinion. It's you have to get it right around here. You cannot go too wide, especially through that first chicane where it'll literally spit you out into the wall if you get it all wrong. You have to get it right, otherwise you're just going to be finding yourself either in the wall or falling backwards.
We said Cooley was 12th, he's now 10th, so jumps in with a 54.9 and is doing a really strong job. Pete Newman then will make the charge over towards the start-finish markers, and we'll see what Pete can find as he crosses, and it is even more improvement. It's a 53.5. He's finding 10th every single lap he's going through. The track is 25 degrees at this moment in time, and Miko looking to make a run and improve is down in 4th position. That lap won't count and won't do anything too much to the good at the moment, and I think you've just seen exactly what I have there.
Dan Hunt to the top of the board with a 153.431, just absolutely eclipsing Newman's time. But the interesting thing is, Newman is setting his fastest times without a draft, whereas Dan Hunt has got all that draft from the car in front of him to get in that fast time for himself.
Well, here's the key. He's being pulled by Kellyman, who's being pulled by Bristow. Bristow's time was only half a hundredth behind one Mr. Pete Newman. So, again, it's all changed here in terms of qualifying. Katz is down in the pits. He'll be waiting for the crew to come around so he can start his one final lap, get in the books. And this is what you're starting to find. Drivers need a couple laps to get the tyres up to temperature, and then they can really rock it. And really rock it we have seen over the course of this qualifying so far. We've got an intriguing AM category battle as well. Maxwell's in 7th, Cullinan's in 8th, Kellyman's 9th, and Cooley's in 10th. Viveka's the odd one out here, way down the order today in qualifying, and 11th, with Hefford in 12th.
Yeah. It's a very topsy-turvy qualifying, I will say that, and that's what makes it all the more exciting. But it could be like we've got less than 4 minutes to go, and anybody could still take pole here.
Cooley again gains a place and up to 9th now, ahead of Charles Kellyman and the train that will soon follow as they go through. Pete Newman has 3.5 minutes. They can finish any lap that they start, and Newman crosses the line. Does not improve on that one. It was a throwaway lap of 53.8, and Miko is sliding over those anti-cut curves at the final chicane. He doesn't want to have a giveaway. They have laws against that here in Quebec, but over the line goes Amico, and it's only a 54 flat. Are we just starting to see that drop off of the tyre after all of that gain that we have seen so far? We're in a really, I would say, clutch situation here with those qualifying times. Look at the queue on pit exit trying to get on the train.
Yeah, it's very Formula 1-esque, trying to get onto a bit of a train here and get yourself the best position possible with these last few minutes of qualifying to go. And you want to find yourself in that perfect sweet spot where you get that perfect draft, just like Dan Hunt did, and it looks like Steve Hefford is trying to put himself in that position right behind Amico.
He needs it. He's down in P12. It's not where we expect Steve Hefford to be. 4 drivers out of qualifying at this moment as well. Carl Hardy's had a moment on his first flying lap. That's why he's down in the pits and starting then from pit lane. As that stands, Hardy will qualify ahead of Sampson, Lutz and Toon, making up the final 4 drivers on the grid. So at the moment, Andreas Katz is out there. He's looking for his first times. He'll be going on to start his flying lap. He'll have 2 attempts. The time that he's got remaining, he'll be one of the last drivers over the line to set a time. Cooley coming to the line then, hoping that it's more than 10th place, because Kellyman's improved to 8th fastest, and that will not do for Steve Cooley. So again, patience needed. Larson and Miko, Hefford the train, Hunt going well wide, trying to get himself a toe for the final lap. And you know what, Andy Maxwell, they're playing chicken here, those two. They don't want to be the one who takes the toe, and they've let Ralph Cullinan go.
Yeah, and that's a problem there. If they want to keep playing chicken with each other, they've got to be fast about it, because they're running out of time. Still a minute and a half left to go, but they don't want to be caught out and miss that last run to the checkered flag here as they finally get things sorted out. Hunt might be a bit too far back there to get a draft off for Maxwell, though, as Maxwell takes the pit side.
Yeah, he certainly does. So that will hurt even further then for Dan Hunt, who will not be able to improve the lap as it is needed at this moment in time. Hefford did improve to a 54.7 on that lap. That's good enough for 9th position. He splits Kellyman and Cullinan out then in terms of their places. No such work then for the 2 Ronin cars who are out there and roaming around, hoping that there is time. Andreas Katz will cross the line with a lap to go. He's having to overtake on his flyer here because he caught Andy Littler in the draft and is looking to try and improve. Littler, the slowest of the drivers so far today, on a 57.7. And you know what? Katz is completely backed out of that. He knows he's got one more chance here to get that lap. Littler, of course, on a flyer at this stage and doesn't want to jeopardize his lap by going too wide into the final chicane as he spins it through the final corner. So now it's all on your own, Andreas. If you want one lap, you're going to have to go and get it. Roy Vervaeke just behind, I think, will be the last driver to cross the line. The Cats will cross the line with 5 seconds to go, and it will be with 2 seconds there or thereabouts for Roy Vervaeke to get one lap in. Checkered flag is out then in session, and at the moment, everybody has pretty much taken pit side, except Hefford, Cullinan and co. And there's only 5 left on the track. Hefford is slow. He's not going to find it. He couldn't gain the time that he needed, but Cullinan here is going to be able to do well. And because it hasn't been a pull off the side of the road, in fact, now it is for Ralph Cullinan, that's not worked. I was going to say he could have got the draft on that back stretch, but it looks like as well, Vincenzo Amico, not necessarily the quickest. So here, Sam, it's down to Roy and it's down to Andreas Katz.
Yep, the Belgian and the German, the last 2 on the track, and it's going to be down to this one to try and see if they can improve. And Katz is on a fast one here. Look how much he's pulled away from Roy Vervaeke on this lap. He really wants to get a better lap in this time.
Yeah, absolutely dancing through the 3rd chicane on the run to the Lapangle hairpin here. This very, very tricky braking zone. 07, Robert Kubica in the wall. The redemption, of course, in 08 on the brakes then through this tricky hairpin. And it's very flat through this section. Back on the power, uses all of the road. You've got a small flick here of this left before you enter the casino straight. And this is where you gamble absolutely everything on this lap. He is 0.6 of a second back, is Andreas Katz in the number 1. The reigning champion has missed a couple rounds and is well out of position. Needs some fortune his way to close Amico and Bristow down. So we'll see what Katz can do. Final 2 corners, passing the wall of champions then, going on through. He is a champion, of course, in the UK Sim Racing MX-5 Pro Series. And Katz now making a drive over towards the line. What sort of time is on the book? Answer is a 53.8. It was good enough for P5. He has bumped Amico down to 6th. Vervaeke does improve on a 54.8 and only to 11th place with that time. That will be a little bit disappointing for Roy. Let's go through the grid then. See where everybody is going to stack themselves up at the circuit. Gilles Villeneuve for your UK Sim Racing MX-5 Pro Series. It is the 07 of Dan Hunt who will be on pole position, a 153.431, and we'll have Pete Newman alongside for company then on the front row. Daniel Bristow will start from 3rd with Anthony Larson, a great qualifying from him in 4th place. Andreas Katz will line up in 5th with Vincenzo Amico 6th. Andy Maxwell will go from 7th with Charles Kellyman there in 8th place. Steve Hefford will line up in 9th with Ralph Cullinan rounding out the top 10. The Irishman with Roy Viveka 11th and Steve Cooley in 12th position. Steve Hansford, okay qualifying from him, 13th with Craig Jones there, struggling today at this circuit, P14 overall. Andy Littler, 15th then as qualifying goes. Carl Hardy, Martin Sampson, Mark Lutz and Alan Toon make up the 19 that will take to the grid here. Sam, as now they have 2 minutes to set themselves ready.
Yeah, they do. And this is the crunch time now for the drivers. They've got their times in. Now it's time to reset yourself and get ready for this first race. 1 of 4 for those that are just joining us and not really sure of the format. 4 races, 15 minutes. Let's get it on, shall we?
Let's get it on indeed. Of course, if they do not start their position where they need to be and decide they want to go to the pits, well, it's going to mean they're going to have a very long way to go through. All drivers can grid in race number 1, irrespective of the penalties they have. The penalties and exclusion from qualifying, they will start at the back of the grid. Just waiting for 2 drivers. Steve Hefford is one of them at the moment. The other one is Roy Viveka, just getting those last final tweaks in, it seems, with a minute to go to get themselves ready and racing. It is a full 15 minutes that they will race. They will race for the checkered flag, and then however many laps they do is how many it will be for the racing. Lights on, though, here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Let's get this racing underway right about now, and let's get ourselves going. Slow start from Dan Bristow there on the second row of the grid. Hunt immediately goes across to defend, but Pete Newman's been open to the inside then with that run. Katz has got a good start then against Anthony Larson, and so has Andy Maxwell against Amico. Newman leads this one then as they go through the opening couple corners. Exactly what he wanted to get in the books. Larson still fighting with Katz, so that's nicely sorted as they go through. Dramas in the background, though, as a 5-car pile-up.
Yeah, Roy Viveka involved as well, and that's disastrous for the start of this one tonight. Carl Hardy and Craig Jones involved. It looks like we've got Steve Hansford involved as well, so disaster for those ones, but even bigger disaster for Roy Viveka. He will not want to see that happen this early in the evening.
No, Steve Cooley may be the driver at fault there as they now enter the second chicane. Out on the circuit and figure out Maxwell dealing with Steve Hefford here. They're going to go side by side on the run to the third chicane here, and Hefford's got to be alongside if he wants to get this move. It's a one-line suits-all corner, this next one, and you've got to be brave to go too wide. He's not going to give this one up there on the inside. Maxwell has to turn late, and as such, the move is done by Steve Hefford. But really, a 5-car pile-up is not what we want to see at the start of the race, but at the front, it is nice and calm, and a slowdown penalty. But Anthony Larson gives it up very late, right into the braking zone there, and Katz ahead of Amico then, covering that one off. So for Anthony Larson, not the start that was wanted, just too aggressive into that third chicane.
Yeah, and has to give up more positions here. There goes Maxwell. There goes Kellyman. Sampson going to follow him through as well as Ralph Cullinan. So Larson really falling back now, and this is going to be playing a catch-up now for Larson as they come through the wall. Last chicane and past the wall of champions here. Andrews Katz makes it through, so he's safe enough, but we've got a 3-way dance for the lead right now as they complete lap 1.
Yeah, we certainly do. Hunt in second. In third is Bristow, your leader, Pete Newman, as they go into 1 and 2 for the second time in this race. Vincenzo Amico and Andreas Katz know they can't afford to dilly-dally too long. They've got to catch back up to the leaders. And also don't forget those trying to run back through the field. Martin Sampson in the 80 will definitely be worth keeping an eye out on at this point in time, trying to bring this race into a complete conclusion at this point in time. And we will see how that goes over the course of the action we've got. Again, Sampson looking to be aggressive, this time on the back of Ralph Cullinan here as the train behind Steve Hefford continues.
Yeah, and Larson has regained his composure as well. He's right behind Sampson, so look for him to try and make some positions up as right behind them. Mark Lutz, after missing qualifying, still he's made up some positions, mainly because of that 5-car pile-up on lap 1, up to P13, P12 now, I apologise.
Yeah, P12, and doing a really good job of it as well. So we'll see how the charge will continue on here, and a slowdown for Dan Hunt. Oh, it's got to hurt. They are heavy slowdown penalties here at the circuit. Gilles Villeneuve, iRacing do not like the fact that you can cut a lot of corner around this place. And look at how much it's costed him. He's a mile away now from Amico in the train of 4, and it will take a lot of work to get back up there, the pole sitter.
Yeah, I mean, you could say it's almost as bad as Spa when it comes to slowdowns and off tracks, but still, they're there anyway, and the drivers must adhere to him, so Hunt has to pay the price now and try and catch these guys back up, but he's got some work to do, like you said, but still plenty of racing left to go.
Plenty of racing, yes, but it's all about managing the time, so we'll see whether this will work or maybe this might not. This is about focus, and you've got to pretty much get there pretty quickly. Bristow's been quietly whittling that gap down to Pete Newman, took 3/10 that last time by, but crucially was slower than Andreas Katz, who has now closed that gap down to 9/10 of a second. It's firmly a train of 4 at the front. Sampson through also on Ralph Cullinan. His next target will be Charles Kellyman, of course, both at Optical, one in blue, one in green, but Sampson knows he's just going to be clean with the way that he makes that pass. He's someone who just by every measure has turned pro at the back end of last season after winning the AMD category championship, and now wants to go out there and challenge and showcase exactly what he's made of.
Yeah, and he's going the right way about it as well. Moved up to pro this season and has all of a sudden found himself in a championship fight as well. So Sampson really needs to work his way forward. And you talk about getting around cleanly. Well, he's right behind, coming up behind Mr. Clean himself. That's Charles Kellerman in front of him. Now, Kellerman, he might be a clean driver, but he won't let him pass so easily, teammate or not.
No, I certainly agree, but they do have a philosophy at Optical. Whoever's faster goes ahead, and this might be a case of seeing that move in action. Not yet anyway, but still chances, and behind that, aggressive from Larson, trying to go to the outside of Ralph Cullen at Lepangle. That one was never going to work there, but they've got this long back stretch to go and figure out a pass, and this is what we see, of course, from these MX-5s. They are very draft-centric.
That they are, and that's how Dan Hunt was able to get his pole position time in qualifying, and we're seeing it right now. It's here comes Sampson now, trying to put a move on Charles Kellerman into the final chicane. Might have even got Maxwell if he was a bit closer, but not quite close enough. Does dispatch the 67, now can look towards his teammate Andy Maxwell.
Exactly, so next one up then for Martin Sampson, who is up a very staggering amount of positions, 9 of them right now. To be precise, contact. Larson turns Cullinan around, and Larson takes a secondary hit as well. He came away from a light year back to make that contact, and that, by every metric, was greedy at best.
That was a big lunge going into turn 1, and we've seen in the past that it never usually works out. Definitely didn't work out this time, as we're now looking at Mark Lutz. He's not complaining too much as he's gained 2 free positions out of that one.
Yep, that is as comfortable as they come along. Ralph Cullinan will not be best pleased with that. We'll definitely be reporting to the stewards on this, and they will be reviewed after the meeting is conducted. So that's why we sometimes get drivers not scoring as many points as we think, because disqualifications do come into play. But at least for the time being, Daniel Bristow challenges Pete Newman here on the back end of the 4th lap of this race. We are not a million miles away from half distance in this one. On the brakes through the big right-hander, 4 at the dance. They have broken away from Dan Hunt in 5th position, who's just keeping Steve Hefford honest here in 6th place. Well, Hefford's keeping him honest, and then some side-by-side for 7th and 8th. Maxwell, once again, mirrors full of Sampson.
It is, and this is how Sampson was able to get Kellerman on the previous lap. He managed to get around him on this straight, and he seems to favour this run down to the final chicane, and he's going for it again. Here comes Sampson on the outside now. This is an interesting position to be in, although if he tries the outside, he gives it the inside for the second bite of the chicane, but Maxwell just gives it up and lets him by.
Yep, easy pickings, and again, Martin Sampson just running the gauntlet, 1 car at a time will get the job done. 1 driver is a lap down. That's Carl Hardy. He's still circulating, but the top 4 have closed back up again here at this moment, and that is worth keeping a mind out for. These 4, Newman, Bristow, Katz, and Amico, are certainly going to be keeping themselves honest and patient, because there is one thing that they will certainly be looking at more than anything else right now, Sam, and the key is time. You've got to time that move to perfection. If you can manage to do that, then the job is yours and the position is pretty much in the back pocket. Don't time it. Suddenly, you're pretty much in a thorn's web here.
Yeah, and it's timing those moves that are crucial, like you said, like coming up to the final, the hairpin, going onto the long backstretch. That's where you can time a move, and also into that final chicane. We've seen Samson do it already tonight. It is possible. So how many more times are we going to see that here tonight? Another thing that we're going to mention about time, Bristow is running out of time. He needs to get a shift on if he wants to get around Newman. And look at it, he's going for it now.
What about now?
Yeah.
What about now? Down the inside, trying to get it sorted here on the Pure Sims Esports outfit. Does run well on that outside track and will take that one back. So Newman not willing to give that up just yet, but now the draft comes into play. They match their speed and Bristow can now start to attack. All the way to the wall goes Pete Newman. He leaves the inside open as he wants to take the natural racing line. Going into that next section, Bristow has the nose ahead as they fight each other onto the brakes, and Dan Bristow picks up the lead, but you can immediately take it back. Newman goes for a spin. He was too heavy over the curb, maybe caught the back as he went on through. He's fortunate there's no contact. Hefford's ahead of Hunt now, and Pete Newman, again, another mistake to compound his miserable season.
Yeah, not a good time there for Newman, just trying to defend from Bristow. Went too heavy over the curbs and found himself facing the wrong way on a one-way street, coming onto the pit straight, and now has to do all that work again to try and get back up there. But like I said about Dan Bristow running out of time, I don't think Newman has enough time to get back up to the top 5 at least.
Yeah, it didn't look like contact, so it was all on Pete Newman trying to be aggressive. It's not long between now and the end, and his first 2 targets are the 2 optical green machines of Kellyman and Maxwell. They should be the easy job to dispatch. We said, of course, that Hefford got through on Dan Hunt. That's the fight for 4th position. Important points in the offing, but Bristow leads, Cat second, and Miko third.
Yeah, and we're going to just go back and take a look at that pass on Dan Hunt by Steve Hefford, and it was down that straight again while we were watching the battle between Bristow and Newman, and Hefford just handed out to him on a silver platter. He just sailed on by down the main straight. As we go back to the lead battle now, Katz is now looking for the lead.
He certainly is, but there is an element of patience in this opening race. They don't want to be too lauded and aggressive right now. They know they've got those couple of laps to go. They can afford to be aggressive as and when the time comes, but Katz now starts to use that toe to his advantage. He's trying to figure out, which way do I want to go? Is it going to be left or is it going to be right? Is it left or is it right? How about neither? I'm just going to bump draft you through and effectively kick the can down the road until I feel like I actually want to pick it up into the corner. You can see how aggressive Bristow's trying to go through there with that extra carried speed. Gained a couple car lengths for it, but immediately the draft's going to bring it right back again. Yeah, look at the battle right behind him. Martin Sampson has caught these guys very easily. This your battle for P4 right now. Hunter's got back around Steve Hefford, but Sampson looking the most threatening here as he's now right on the back of Hefford as they're going towards turn 1. Yeah, and I just caught an eye on Cullinan as well, getting all shades of caught up, trying to go through. Kellyman, of course, ahead of Maxwell as well, so another little change of position in the AM category as now here comes Pete Newman on the exit of 2 under the Napa Bridge, and now over towards 3 and 4. It's a case of the inside there for Pete, and he lunges in deep and gets the move that he so very richly deserved there with that run. Of course, Dan Hunt up into 4th position now, as we just said, but Sampson not giving up here. 3rd sometimes in a draft train is the last place you want to be, because the car in front of you effectively has every license to attack. That it does, and this is where Samson needs to be patient. Obviously, time is fleeting at the moment, but Samson really needs to be patient here and pick his moments, like I said, into that hairpin and into the final chicane. That's where he gets it, and he seems to be favouring that final chicane so far tonight, as Amico now to 2nd place. For now, still going to be a lunge here from Andreas Katz. The key to that move was that Katz was slightly deep through that 3rd chicane, shadowing the braking marker of Dan Bristow, who can brake later at this stage. Newman side by side into Lepangle, getting the move done on Charles Kellyman. No doubts he was always going to leave that space there and wants to be dragged along in terms of this race, but it's starting to suddenly look like it's a race of 1st, 2nd and 3rd Then you got this one continuing on. Amico slipping a nose to the inside. Not going to be able to get a move just yet, but still, patience, dear boy. There's chances.
Oh!
Yeah, Wall of Champions for the championship leader.
And that it was, so that's going to give him some serious damage. And I was about to ask when that was going to happen. It's happened already in the first race. The champion has succumbed to the Wall of Champions.
He certainly has, just slightly too aggressive, grabs the tyres and then the position goes. Fortunately, it's not a retirement there, but ultimately for Andreas Katz, the reigning champion, finding the Wall of Champions, disaster means it's P3, and they've given Bristow 0.8 of a second to play with 1 lap to go here around this track. Hunt is quietly away in 4th place with Hefford in 5th and Sampson in 6th. Right now, other battles include Cullinan and Lutz, with Viveka on the back of it on top of that. So there is still points to be had in these sorts of races, and opportunities certainly knocking on the door if they can go out there and find them. But at least right now, it is a case of Andreas Katz wanting to get back to 2nd, because the gap looks a little bit too large here to car 12 in optical blue colours. Amico is looking behind at number 1, Andreas Katz. These three are all down in the championship by 500 plus points because they have used some of their drop rounds available to them. Now is the chance they need to go out there and be aggressive with everything they've got available. But I'll tell you what, Amico's just had a really good run there through the Lapangle hairpin. He does have a slim outside chance of closing this gap down. He is traveling so quickly up to the rear of Dan Bristow. He's just got to set up that run. Don't look for it right now, buddy. Get back in line. You've got one final chicane and a drag race if you should so need it. Going through the final section. It's all perfect, though, for Dan Bristow. They will charge their way to the line, but it will be Bristow's time to shine. Picks up the W ahead of Amico. Katz out of laps.
Yeah, Katz probably ruined that mistake out of the final chicane and hitting that Wall of Champions, and still gets a 3rd place for his efforts, but still not going to be happy with that one, as battle's still going on across the track, and Samson runs out of time. Newman does finish ahead as Cullinan and Lutz are coming into blows out of the final chicane, and Lutz comes off the worst.
He does. He hit the Wall of Champions. There was no contact, but Lutz, who will try and finish this race with 3 wheels on the wagon. The rear right is absolutely smashed, and the front right as well. No surprises there. And that ultimately ends up in tears for Mark Lutz on the final effort. Gave it everything, but those are the sorts of places that you rue in the long and the short after being so aggressive through those final couple corners. The last of the drivers then are making their way over, and in fact we will have a change at the very end potentially as they go through, because Carl Hardy's going to gain the lap on Steve Hansen. It's the walking wounded towards the end. Craig Jones can definitely put in that category on top of that. But before we go to our official classified results, we're going to spin the wheel for the first time. This is how we do it. We have a spinning wheel. Wherever that wheel stops is our reverse grid. We will then work out where we're going for our next race and see where our reverse grid number lands.
And it's number 14.
14 is the number. That's crucial because it will put Alan Toon then on the pole position, but he's got a penalty to serve, so he is going to be starting that pole position from the pits. What a shame. But here's the official results then from this one. Daniel Bristow picks up the win, 15 minutes, 21 seconds, and wins by a margin of 3/10 in the end from Vincenzo Amico in 2nd and Andreas Katz there in 3rd. Dan Hunt will take 4th with Steve Hefford in 5th, and Martin Sampson getting 6th place overall. 7th would belong to Pete Newman. A real shame after such a good race that he had, with Andy Maxwell in 8th and Charles Kellyman then in 9th position, having to slow down for a slowdown penalty on the final chicane. It would be just ahead of Ralph Cullinan, who picked up 10th, ahead of Roy Viveka in 11th, and Mark Lutz smashing into the Wall of Champions there in 12th position, making sure that both Top Gun cars found themselves in trouble. 13th would belong to Steve Cooley, with Alan Toon there 14th, and will take pole for race 2. Andy Littler 15th. Steve Hansard then in 16th, with Craig Jones 17th. A lot of drivers struggling with damage. towards the end. And then the drivers a lap down or worse. Carl Hardy in 18th, and then from the back, 19th, Anthony Larson after a very, very strong qualifying effort. Put pretty much everything into a nice perspective. We're going to take the chance, though, to grab a driver in for interview. We've got Vincenzo Amico here for the first time this season with ESPN alongside with us for the ride. Vincenzo, very, very tactical race, I think, had to be said. You definitely bode your time in that one from 6th position, moving your way up to 2nd.
Hi, Jake. Thanks for having me on board. Yeah, it was a tactical one. It's very difficult to overtake around here. So, and with the walls and things so close, a little mistake and it's the end of your race. So, yeah, just bided my time and one by one, managed to work my way up, thankfully.
One by one, of course. Let's talk about your season in the sense of how you started it. You were 2 rounds withdrawn, I'd say, at the beginning of the season. So your work for you was to get yourself into play, no drop rounds. How does that as a mentality for you for the season work in the back of your mind, knowing that you've got no leeway for error compared to other drivers?
It certainly adds a bit of pressure, Jake. So, you know, you need to get good results each round. So there's a fine balance between aggression and safety. So far, it seems to be working out so well. You know, not too bad. But yeah, like I say, it's just finding that nice balance in each race and trying not to get caught up in any incidents.
Well, the balance is certainly going to be needed for this race too. You'll be starting from 13th position on the grid for that one with our 14-car reverse. So in terms of making your way through the field, how important is it going to be to maximize the final section of this circuit, which seems primed for these machines to go out there and overtake?
Yeah, that last section around here in these cars is fantastic fun to drive. Again, it's about sort of setting the cars up for the overtakes, and it's going to be quite important to keep it clean while trying to get the moves done. So, yeah, this circuit is completely different from the last one, where you could be a little bit more aggressive with your moves. This one, I think you have to be a bit more planned. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll take it a step at a time, and hopefully we can move up.
One step at a time, indeed. Before we let you go, Vincenzo, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, you guys for the fantastic streams, the leagues that put it on. It's a great show. It's a great event. Really enjoy it. Obviously, my team and our partner Peru Racing Team and all of their sponsors.
No worries at all. Vincenzo Amico, that 2nd position, and every reason to be excited with that P2 on top of that. We're going to step aside, though, very briefly here at your Esports Broadcasting Network. We'll be back with race 2 of 4 tonight here from the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It's the 8th week of the championship, and I tell you what, we're starting to gear up into showdown mode here at the end of the championships. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the UK Sim Racing MX-5 Pro Series here from the circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. This is an important race in terms of trying to sort things out. A 14-car reverse then for race number 2. And it looks like all races here today are going to be pretty cold. It's cloudy conditions here today in what is the circuit Gilles Villeneuve overall. Now, this is where I want to start jumping into a bit of speculation that will be coming in here, Sam. Of course, we heard over the week that there was a lot of iRacing news dropped. Not only was it the case that rain is, I would say, tentatively expected for the end of the year. On top of that, you've got the likes of weather radar coming into place. You can have even more dynamic weather set for the races that go on. And you could put on top of that Mount Washington, which surprisingly is not in Washington State or Washington, D.C., but is in New Hampshire. There's a lot of work that goes on with that. And all three of those things combine with the Hungaroring on top of that.
Yeah, I just find the irony of the Hungaroring being announced almost at the same time as rain. Just the irony, considering we just had the race 2 weeks ago, 2 days ago, where Bottas decided to go bowling. I just find it a very ironic, but also very pleasing news to see all those nice new, shiny new things coming to the service.
Yeah, I certainly agree as well. And by agree, I mean that was a very nice PBA 710 split that we saw there in the race. And I would also like to point out that Lewis Hamilton has become the only driver to be the only driver to start on the grid and not win the race.
I mean, not only is he breaking records, he's creating new ones. So,
yeah,
it's always fun.
Measure of the legend.
I mean, Indianapolis said, right, we'll only start 6 cars. Hungaroring turned around and said, hold my beer, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. 1 car starts and 13 finish. So you can't make that up. That's incredible. But at least for the time being, let's focus back on our MX-5 Pro Series, because that is a race which will definitely not be good for the top 3 contenders out there. We're not going to be able to get points updates over the course of the racing live, it seems. Our normal points hitter upper is not here today, but really what you could say is that there were a couple of missed opportunities out there for certain drivers in the field. They've got to go and recover here in this race one. For some drivers like Anthony Larson, for example, it's a long way back from 19th every single stage of the night.
Yeah, and that slowdown was just the beginning of his downfall in race 1. Hopefully he can pick that up in race 2, but he did miss the cut with the grid swap as well, starting at the very back of the field. He's got a lot of work to do in race 2, but we've seen Larson race before. We know he can do it.
Oh, we absolutely know that he can, and it's all about positioning and patience. We've seen in this race 1, but we've got a lot of overtaking options available in race number 2. And we saw as well that the Wall of Champions definitely made itself an issue here, Sam, of course, especially when Katz and Lutz both found it.
Yeah, it's not usual that you see both teammates hitting the same part of the wall, but they did. Unfortunately, Lutz coming off the worst in that one. He completely smashed the suspension on his Top Gun machine. Katz, very much a lucky boy making it to the end of the race, especially on the podium.
Yeah, so some luck is often involved in sim racing. It's not always a guarantee that you can make it to the end cleanly, as it were, and that sometimes is what is needed to go and win a championship. It's very much the case of a Linkin Park song. You got concentrated power of will, and you need skill and luck and fame and remember the name and all the rest of it. But let's take ourselves over to the grid then, see how they will all stack up for this one. Alan Toon will be on the pole position, but we'll start from the pits with Steve Cooley second, technically pole. Mark Lutz in the 333 goes from third. Roy Viveka starts fourth with Ralph Cullen in fifth. Charles Kellyman in sixth with Andy Maxwell 7th and Pete Newman in 8th place. Martin Sampson goes from 9th, Steve Hefford 10th, Dan Hunt, the championship leader, in 11th, Andreas Katz 12th, then Vincenzo Amico and Daniel Bristow 13th and 14th. Following that, Andy Littler, Steve Hansford, Craig Jones, Carl Hardy, and Anthony Larson making up then the 19 drivers who will be taking to the grid. They have just the 1 minute to grid up in these races, and all races from here on in will be 8 laps in length. as they all go and challenge. So let's get ourselves into position then for some great racing. In terms of our graphics as well, anyone in green is a pro, anyone in yellow is an am, by the way that we look at all of this. So let's get ourselves into position. Lights on then. Lutz as well has to start from the pits, remember, so Cooley's got a free ride forward. So too does Martin Sampson. Green flag drops. We are underway. Nice clean start there from Steve Cooley. Got a good drive and got a good launch. Great launch there from what was Charles Kellyman. He immediately challenges Ralph Cullinan on the short run towards turn 1 and 2 as they file on in. Pete Newman there in the mix is going to get down the inside of Kellyman then, who goes way to the outside, trying to get it sorted, but a nice clean get-go this time from everyone as they funnel on through side by side for the lead. Here comes Viveka down to the inside. He gets the move sorted. Contact in the middle, and Kellyman's into the back of, I believe that is Hefford there, and everyone scatters.
Yeah, horrible start there for Hefford. He's on facing the wrong way on this track, but a great start from Roy Viveka. Had a horrid start. He knows how those first lap collisions feel, especially with it being from the first race, but gets it right this time around. Really needs this race to claw some of those points back he lost in race 1.
Oh, I certainly agree. Pete Newman is going to be best placed as well, by the way. He is there in 4th position. Look at the scrapping going on. Cullinan trying to eye up Cooley in the Ronin Simsport machine. It's not going to quite be there just yet, but there is still time to go and work it out. Remember, it's an 8-lap race. Newman's got a good run there out of the 3rd chicane. He'll attack Cullinan, but as we know with these races here, Sam, Ralph Cullinan does love to defend these places and fight it up with the big boys.
Yeah, it doesn't defend so well this time around, though, as Newman sails it round the outside into the hairpin and gets the job done on the exit. That outside line seems to be working well for the 118, and he's now going to set off in search of Cooley and Viveka. And speaking of Cooley, has the run on Viveka coming down this long straight now. We'll be looking to move up his position here and retake that lead.
Yeah, brilliant work. I do need to apologise. It was Andy Maxwell who made the contact with one Mr. Steve Hefford, but look at how Viveka just takes the natural racing line on the inside and just does exactly what is needed. Covers the move. Cooley's not going to fight it just now because he wants the move into 1 where it's a lot more decisive. Newman's closing in on this as well. Does he decide to thread it 3 wide? He's not close enough to make it happen, but Cooley on that inside, not enough confidence going through. Newman's going to take advantage of that with a bit of contact. He gets shufted out then, up on 2 wheels, back down into 5th place goes Steve Cooley, and that is a lesson learned there from a very accomplished quick driver.
Yeah, and immediately gets back on the power, though. He'll want to stay with his top 4 as they go through the first chicane here. Look at Newman, though. He's looking the most threatening now. Right on the back of Viveka. Looking very threatening, looking to dispel the problems that they suffered in race 1 and take that lead away.
Now here's the key point. They're not necessarily catching quick enough here. The group of Amico, Bristow, Katz and Hunt, the, I would say, usual suspects in this field. They've got a little bit of work to do, and here's the side-by-side for the lead then. Roy Viveka on the outside, Pete Newman on the inside. Roy is someone who loves to preserve his race and get himself to the checkered flag before anything, so he now drops back to 2nd. Pete Newman now given license at the front of the field to attack, but at what cost? Because suddenly the group of Amico and Bristow, they're on the train, and look at Amico and Bristow now side by side here on the run to Lapangle's hairpin.
Yeah, and can Bristow keep it on the outside as Cooley has another problem going into Lapangle hairpin, and he's dropped even more positions.
I think he just didn't want to fight with any of them.
Well, we're going to take a look at a replay here. He's right behind Charles Kellerman coming down to the hairpin, and he just went straight on at the hairpin and just backed out of it completely.
Well, you don't want to get yourself involved in the championship scrap if you're there, if you know they're quicker. So that as a philosophy was, I will go wide, I will let them have their race. But at least for the time being, it's 7 there, and how close do you want to be? A tag of the wall from Cullinan, a tag of the wall from Katz there at the Wall of Champions. It's really showing how much track they're actually having to take out of this circuit just to be competitively quick.
Yeah, and tagging onto the back of this train as well is Dan Hunt as well, and we all know how threatening Dan Hunt can be. He's going to have time to assess the situation and try and attack as necessary. Dan Bristow, though, getting the fastest lap of the race so far.
Yeah, and that is a 53.7 there on that lap, and is all over the back of Amico again, going through the long turn 5 towards 6 and 7. trying to look for any way on the inside. And there's a shot to the back of Vincenzo Amico. Does Amico have damage to that rear? As now through, making it through is going to be Bristow. There might be words for little bits of contact there. Katz is starting to push on it. Come on, get back up to speed, please. I want to try and get through. Toughest corner on the track to overtake. He's up next, and Amico just searching there. But all of that fighting amongst each other, well, the train's just gone. It's left the station. It's almost like they've had a brouhaha, and the train conductor's gone and said, you know, your train just left 5 minutes ago, right?
Yeah, and Charles Kellerman able to get away, but we know Bristow won't give that up so easily. He'll try and close that gap as quickly as possible, but Amico thankfully didn't get any damage from that contact. He can carry on racing. Katz and Hunt right there behind. Steve Cooley completely fallen off the boil. I was looking a bit further back in the field. Apparently there was contact between Carl Hardy and Steve Hefford. Those two at the very back of the field, and Hefford's slow. Hefford's slowing down.
Yeah. Hefford's slowing down because I think he's got a slow down penalty, and that contact was coming through the third chicane, the second chicane, and Carl Hardy a full 270 to a stop as Hefford, I think, was looking to redress the position back to Carl Hardy. That's why he was slow. That's why he was dropping back, and almost contact through the final chicane between Mark Lutz and Martin Sampson as they go through, and it seems like Lutz has taken too much out of the first part of the chicane. He'll take a slow down penalty for the troubles, as again it is Bristow and Amico side by side.
Yeah, and Amico looking for that position back again after the contact, going into the chicane now, side by side, and this is what we spoke about earlier. Don't want to be doing that, otherwise it's going to spit you out. And Amico coming off the worst of that one, he's going to lose position to Katz and Hunt now as he falls back to P7. Oh no, he doesn't.
So aggressive. So aggressive against Dan Hunt. You want to say exactly the same thing I do, Sam, and I completely agree with you. You could see there Dan Hunt did not want to risk the car. He's got a championship lead to protect. He backed out. Yeah, he did, and Hunt not able to... well, he's going to have another bite of the cherry here as we look at Kellyman really on the offensive as well ahead against Cullinan. That's your AM category battle going on right there. It is your AM category battle, and this is the key here. When you've got an AM battle in full flow, you've got to be very, very alert to what sort of pace you can manage. You've got Kellyman in fourth, you've got Cullinan in third, and they will quietly try and race to see who can pick up the most points. Of course, you've got the clean driver in Kellyman. You've got Cullinan, who's definitely got that great turn of pace available to it, so you'll definitely see how that will go through. A bit of side-by-side in the background as well. Andy Maxwell and Anthony Larson then going into the hairpin. Larson just breaks a little bit deep, trying to pick up the run off the exit to make contact, and Larson just breezes through.
Yeah, and that could have ended so much more worse for both of them. That contact right on the wheel arches of both cars, and it looks like Maxwell decided to back out that one. Maxwell being this very much passive tonight. He's not really attacking much here tonight. I wonder if he's just trying to preserve that championship lead and be as clean as possible.
Here comes Amico down the inside of Andreas Katz, and really aggressive line as contact between them again. Amico bounces up on the rear suspension and through for two more places. Katz gets one done, so too does Dan Hunt, but it's not guaranteed yet for Dan, because on the outside, Amico's going to stay there and hold it in there, try and get some drive through the second part, and will do, but ultimately is pinched, and just like that, Dan Hunt has got the place. Here comes Bristow versus Kellyman. Expect minimal resistance here in this one, down the inside. Bristow up into fourth place.
Yeah, very cordial there by Kellyman, just letting Bristow by, and he knows that Bristow has the fastest car now. The 12 can go off in search of Cullinan, who's managed to pull away slightly, and then his teammate Roy Vervaker is still sitting nicely in second place.
Yep, sitting very nicely and looking to try and make sure that this is as much proof in the pudding of find results and make them happen as much as you possibly can. Bristow is on that legendary charge he has done so many times before. The gap has really opened up to Vervaker to Cullinan. From Vervaker, of course, as well to Newman, as down the inside and comfortably sorted on Ralph Cullinan. He's not going to give it up, though. He's going for the big up and under against the optical blue machine of Dan Bristow, who definitely, in terms of pace, has title challenging material pretty much there. But at least for the 32, tucked up underneath, it's about being brave at this next section. The group behind's going to be starting to claw its way back into contention here, and now is it going to be a case of I'm going to get it done? Case of I will be patient here. 3 laps to go. Here is Cullinan so wide. Here comes Kellyman.
Yep, Kellyman again on the offensive there, looking to try and get around the Irishman. But here comes Andreas Katz as well. Dan Hunt and Amico coming with him as well. Looks like Katz was trying to force a gap through the middle there. Has to be patient here going through this first section of corners. Has to really try and find the line as well. Gets the inside line contact with Kellyman, and Hunt's involved as well.
Hunt with nowhere to go then takes the hit. How much damage then for the Doff Reality car? Answer is a little bit. The clip is starting to fall off, but I don't think it's too bad there for Dan Hunt. He's got to manage 3 laps on that. Behind is Steve Cooley, and then for Charles Kellyman, Mr. Clean getting caught out, and I wouldn't say that was his fault. Katz for the second time, knowing he had to get to the inside.
Yeah, that's true, and Katz is really being aggressive here in this late stage of the race, and now we'll be looking to try and get around Ralph Cullinan into that 4th spot. He's running out of time if he wants to try and catch the Bristow. Speaking of Bristow, though, right on the back of his teammate Viveka now, and that didn't last long, did it?
No, it was a very simple case of catching, and then for Dan Bristow, I think this is going to be simple here. Knows that he is quicker than Roy Viveka, who is second in the championship coming into tonight. Viveka goes a little bit deep through the corner, and ultimately it's not going to be done yet, but it might be done a little bit. And here's the key interesting thing about Roy Viveka's season so far. If I just look up his stats, I believe Roy Viveka has not had a podium all season, yet is second in the championship. In terms of top 5 finishes, has had 1 top 5 finish all season. This is his career best so far, and that is really surprising.
Yep, just that win that eludes him so far this season, and he's been, like I said, this is the highest he's been all season, but probably going to be let down a little bit by his teammate, who just goes sailing around the outside before we even get to turn 1. So Bristow still on a charge here, and let's just not forget, he's moved up 12 spots here from where he started. He won the first race. He started from P14 now to P2.
Well, now you've got to start looking behind, though, for Viveka, because Amico and Katz have got through on Cullinan, and it's 2 laps to chase down Roy here, who will need to find his best Sunday dress, or Tuesday dress, you could say at this stage, try and keep into play. Worth noting as well that Dan Hunt has lost the place to Steve Cooley. That last lap was a 2:03. Martin Sampson is pretty much going to be on orders to try and get through, and I think there's going to be more points lost then for Dan Hunt over the course of this race. Your race leader is the 118 to Pete Newman, who's been absolutely flying around this place today, but it's going to be a case now of, well, final couple laps. What places can you get? Roy Viveka will be definitely looking in the mirrors for that podium.
Yeah, Viveka really wants that podium. Can Katz get up to him in time? And obviously, we've got to ask the question, does Andreas Katz have some damage on his car from that contact with Charles Kellyman? We don't really know. At the moment, he seems okay, but we've still got another lap and a half to find out.
Looks like they're okay. Now, the question here for Viveka, and I ask you this quickly, is it going to be a case of Viveka's fine by matter of fact that Katz and Amico might start fighting with each other?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. Amico and Katz have been fighting each other since Amico started in this league. Obviously, 2 races late, but these guys have been at each other's necks since that moment, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did it again here tonight.
Other moves then as we go towards the final lap of the race. Steve Hansford fighting for 11th place with Anthony Larson in the number 99 machine. And Larson here is going to just breeze on through. That is as calm and as comfortable as you will have it. But just in front is Dan Hunt. So that is another little marquee moment in the cap to try and chase down to during the final laps of this race. Hunt, a 2-minute lap, lost 5 seconds to those around. Viveka being clawed in by Andreas Katz. And now you start to wonder here for number 14, is this the chance that has gone away one more time? Turn 6, turn 7 coming through. Might be the chance now for Andreas Katz to go and get it done, especially if Viveka runs wide off the exit, almost clipping the wall going through that section. If not, the wing mirror is falling off. Which way do I go? Inside, outside? Committed too late, did Andreas Katz. Couldn't get it done through the 3rd chicane, And now it's a case of hairpin and draft, and Amico is right there in the mix for this battle for the final spot on the podium. Might not be a guarantee. Here comes Amico searching, covered every stage of the way by Andreas Katz in the fight for third. Amico's going to try and set one up and under, but remember Viveka, that will cover a lot of things off. Pete Newman, totally clear, totally dominant so far in this race, and Hansford has gone around on this final lap of this race. We'll catch a little bit of what happened there later on. But still the run is there for Amico, trying to pick it up on Katz, looks for the inside, it's covered, outside will go to be the look. Final section has come through. Pete Newman's going to take the W. It's a big race win, and into the Wall of Champions for a second straight race goes Andreas Katz. Then as he is demoted down into 5th position, ultimately Newman will win, Bristow second, Roy Viveka's first podium of the season.
Yeah, great run for Viveka, but that, again, I called it just a couple of laps ago that I wouldn't put it past Katz and Miko to go at each other's throats, and oh, Katz not happy with that one at all.
No, he's letting his feelings be known after the race, just giving a bump. What was that for? What was that for, buddy? And you don't like to see that in sim racing. You take your arguments and the grievances off the track. You don't play with the vehicle as a weapon. You wouldn't do it in the real world. Why would you do it in the sim world? And ultimately, for number one, that will definitely come into protest from Vincenzo Amico that he was a bit naughty after the checkered flag in that one. So let's get a spinning wheel before we move over to our classified result. Let's see how we are going to grid up then for race 3 of 4 tonight.
And oh, it's a full grid swap this time around.
A full grid. Everyone finished on the lead lap. Craig Jones then will have the pole position, and there'll be 3 result cars in the top 4 places for this race. So confirmation of result then. Pete Newman picks up the victory, 15 minutes, 22 seconds then. And from 8th position on the grid, he won by 5 seconds over Daniel Bristow. Roy Viveka takes a well-deserved podium, his first of the season after 30 races worth of action, with Vincenzo Amico in 4th and Andreas Katz rounding out the top 5. It is Ralph Cullinan in 6th position, with Steve Cooley 7th and Martin Sampson in 8th place. Great drive as well by Anthony Larson, 19th to 9th in that one, up 10 spots, with Charles Kellyman rounding out the top 10. Dan Hunt then gets 11th, with Mark Lutz in 12th. Steve Hefford ultimately gets 14th. Sorry, Andy Maxwell in 12th. Dan Hunt 11th. Mark Lutz 13th. Hefford 14th. Steve Hansford then will get 15th, ahead of Carl Hardy, Andy Littler, Alan Toon, and Craig Jones will have the pole position for the 31st race of this season. Moving on forward, we are going to get a chance though to grab a driver here or there for interview, and why not? First podium overall. We're going to bring in Roy Viveka for a bit of a chat. Roy, 30 races it's taken you this season to get your first podium, but it hasn't stopped your championship aspiration.
Luckily not. No, it wouldn't be much of an aspiration if I needed podiums to be there.
No, that's very true. But let's talk about that race. It was a measured performance from you out there with Optical Blue. It was a case of just letting the quick guys go, it seemed, and just driving to your own cadence.
Yeah, exactly. Once you got Pete Newman behind you with 7 laps to go, you know it's going to be very difficult to keep it. And with Ralph and such like that, there was fast people behind, so I thought let Pete go and then try to follow, which half worked for a while, but in the end I had to let him go, and then it was just Daniel. I let him past my teammate to see if he could catch Pete, but he was already gone.
Let's talk Optical for the moment, because you have joined their stable as one of their drivers. Firstly,
Yes.
What prompted the change, and how are you finding life in the Optical team?
Well, with the Automac team, we had a good bunch of guys, but some real-life racing got in the way for some people. With Rob, his daughter, Aaron, doing first steps in racing. So we were a bit short on people. And we always had good connections with the Optical people. So we thought, why not make a team and try to win it?
And it seems like it's doing a very good job for you, leading the team's championship. Before we let you go here, Roy, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
I'll have to give a shout out to our previous sponsor, Automac, who's been with us for years and who is supporting Arwen now, Rob's daughter, in fact, Arwen Graham. So a big shout out to them and to Arwen, and good luck to them both.
No worries at all there. Roy Viveka, first podium of the season. Every reason then to be excited with that one. But Sam, we're going to step aside for just one moment here when it comes to racing action right now. We'll be back with race 3 after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to your UK Sim Racing MX-5 Pro Series. It's the 8th round of actions here. The races continue on here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It's a full reverse grid for race 3 tonight. And my goodness, we just saw at the end of race number 2 just how it can change and how tempers can flare. I think we've just seen a rivalry here in this series brew up here, Sam, between not only between Andreas Katz and Vincenzo Amico.
Yeah, that really boiled over at the end there, with Katz taking his anger out on Vincenzo after the checkered flag, and it all started with that move into the final chicane where Katz ended up in the wall. But at the end of the day, it's the final lap. You've got to make those kind of moves to get up there, and unfortunately Katz came off the loser in that one and really showed his temper after that one.
Well, it's a corner which naturally closes off at the end. If you're going to fight too wide, you know, it's one of those things on the outside at your peril. And they were both equally alongside each other. So, you know, I put that down as a racing incident personally, but we'll see how it goes. There's no room on the exit. And, you know, what's the damage done to Andreas Katz in terms of that race? That's the next question here, Sam, because he only lost, one position? But if he didn't get the move done, it wasn't going to be his. Yeah, and well, we've got to find out next week when we head to Sebring to find out what the stewards thought of that one, because they don't take too kindly to intentional wrecking in this league, as we find in most leagues actually in iRacing. No, they are very, very heavy-handed when it comes to that. I wouldn't say intentional wrecking there from Andreas Katz, but I'd say getting a point across physically rather than verbally is what we managed to see there in race number 2 overall. It's worth noting as well that the track conditions here are very cold still. We're into evening conditions. It's a little bit under 10 to 7. Track is 19 degrees. And this is what we've been seeing over the course of the racing. It has been cold so far, and that has meant that drivers have been struggling to get up to speed in the opening couple laps. Yeah, and obviously Canada being a naturally cold country anyway, it's making things difficult for the drivers out there. It made the racing interesting. The only thing we're missing here tonight is the absolute chaos that we normally see week in, week out. Well, you've got a full reverse grid, so put that into play. So maybe this is where we are going to be getting ourselves in. Andreas Katz, though, is still incensed in the in-sim chat communications at this moment as he goes on through. He is not a happy chappy with everything that's gone on. And let's see how this one plays out as the checkered flag in practice comes to an end. Another 8 laps then are going to be put on the books, and it is of course results who will have the most amount of vehicles up there at the front of the field. So let's go through the grid, see how they will line up. Craig Jones will have the pole position with Alan Toon alongside. Andy Littler will go from 3rd with Carl Hardy in 4th. It's an all-Steve 3rd row of the grid. Steve Hansford is ahead of Steve Hefford with Mark Lutz in 7th and Andy Maxwell in 8th. Dan Hunt will go from 9th with Charles Kellyman and Anthony Larson 10th and 11th. Martin Sampson goes from 12th with Steve Cooley in 13th. Then it's Ralph Cullinan and Andreas Katz. Vincenzo Amico goes from 16th with Roy Viveka, Dan Bristow and Pete Newman. And Andreas Katz, so incensed with everything that's going on, has decided, you know what, it's not worth my time tonight. He is going to not take part, I believe, final 2 races here this evening. A real shame for the number 1, but the aggression is very much there, and that is a real shame to see. But a lot of drivers then hoping for what they've got. 5 seconds. Of course, Alan Toon, I think, serving the last of his pit lane starts then here tonight. So let's get ourselves going then. Let's get ourselves ready. Action into play here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Lights are on. Lights are, by all intents and purposes, out. Really long hold there on the lights. They were waiting to go. It's a pretty decent start by all involved as they look to make that run. The 3 result cars falling nicely into line then. Hansford and Hefford side by side in the run through, and they're going to go either side almost they go through. The result cars have run into each other there. Rule 1 of sim racing in full display as Carl Hardy runs into the back of Andy Littler, but here comes Hefford, and he's got to get a gap early here. He struggled the opening races here trying to get exactly what's needed, and now it's about chances to shine. He's immediately up to 2nd, and Lutz is searching.
Yeah, lots of searching, but didn't quite get it. We got a bit of contact in the back there. People just shuffling around, trying to get the best position possible. And already we're seeing a lot of aggressive driving already, as Lutz now looking to the inside of Littler.
Oh, that's not going to work. Bit of contact there going through. Dan Hunt's had a really good start on top of this as well. And they fight now to the third chicane, which will be coming up on the horizon. There is the look then from Mark Lutz, defensive all the way. Goes Carl Hardy, and through will go Dan Hunt, getting by both of them. Nobody wants a piece of Dan Hunt, the championship leader. Lutz gets the move done around the outside and searches it off with great aplomb. Hefford already down the road with Craig Jones here, who is leading this race outright. But look at the massive swarms in the middle as they try and chase on down.
Yeah, and that one's being led by, I believe, that's Steve Hansford leading the swarm of cars, and it's Maxwell leading the swarm of cars with Hansford right behind. And look at Larson just cutting his way through all that, doing a really good job of making his way, and Samson following him through as well. The optical blue cars are on the move.
They certainly are, and you could say the Ronin cars will definitely want to gain some places as well. Side by side for the race lead, Steve Hefford and Craig Jones on the run to the final chicane, and it is Heff now into the race lead for the sole Momo car here today, sliding through the final couple corners and looking to try and get things going. Lutz in third, Hunt in fourth, battle for fifth on Littler and Maxwell then going at it for position with Larson there in the background. On top of that, they're all trying to figure it out as Amico and Bristow also go too wide. But crucially for Maxwell, he's still trying to fight this one through 1 and 2, and everywhere you look there's some too wide.
And almost contact between Maxwell and Littler right there. That's like Larson through, and now it's going to be too wide almost between Samson and Bristow. Bristow just falling back in line. Can't be too comfortable right there with Amico right behind him. Amico already taking a look through the first chicane, and there's almost contact between Samson. I think that was... I can't really tell which...
It was all the optical green car.
Yeah, it was all of them.
All three of them were slow. Bristow's been boxed here by the optical cars. It looks like you're watching one of those American police chases, and they're going to put a pit maneuver in the next couple of moments. But ultimately, nice pace done. Sampson really needing a good race here, is really fighting Littler for it. He'll be looking for the inside. Hunt now up into P3, by the way. I'll be chasing down, and Sampson's got his move.
Yep, Samson has moved up ahead. He's ahead of Andy Littler, who's still falling backwards now. Has Kellyman right behind him. Kellyman taking a look. Don't want to leave the door open too much, because here comes Bristow now trying to look for a move.
Yeah, Bristow's got one. He's looking for two here as they go towards the braking zone. It's being shadowed by Amico straight on through, and it's pretty much rush hour once again here. Look at all of this. Newman's gone around the outside of two drivers in a row. One of them was Cooley, the other was Cullinan, and he's now looking at attacking Steve Hansford here on the back stretch as now you can see Amico through on Kellyman there or thereabouts, needs the draft to really help that out. Front two, nice and patient, but now it's a case of just staying calm because Dan Hunt is going to be on the chase here to get to Craig Jones and Steve Hefford.
Yeah, Hunt is hunting, excuse the pun. Newman in trouble here, and he's think he's had a slowdown. Yeah, he's had a slowdown.
Yeah, he just went way too deep and decided I'm not going to risk it by making the corner. Takes a slow down penalty, and it's heavy there at that section of road because it's 4 seconds worth of penalty.
Yeah, and he's fallen in behind Steve Hansford. Still has a decent gap over Carl Hardy and Alan Toon, but that will not please the race one winner as he's got more driving to do to try and get around these guys once again.
And as we say, it's only an 8-lap race. This will go very, very quickly here tonight. So Newman's got a lot of work to close down through the entirety of the train. Bristow still fighting with Amico here, trying to go around the outside here of this second chicane at 6 and 7. He's not going to find that one there, but there is still chances to make it happen. But you can see how much time they've lost already with this full reverse grid. They're immediately 11.5 seconds off of your race lead.
Yeah, and the race lead fight isn't over here because Craig Jones is still shadowing Steve Hefford at the front here, and Dan Hunt not really close. Hunt's got a problem here. He's let Mark Lutz by. I think he's going to slow down.
Yeah, third chicane does it again. Too aggressive on entry this time for Dan Hunt. He went through, took way too much curb out of it, and it's such a tight margin at that moment of track for it to all happen. big on the brakes goes the likes of Steve Cooley. He's got himself then through on Andy Littler, who will lose the place to Ralph Cullen, and his teammate Viveka and Newman are there as well for the ride. So focus still pretty much on the horizon. How do you get those moves? How do you get those places? And this is where you've just got to be very calm and just quietly tick off laps one after another in a race like this.
And Cooley looking to the inside of Maxwell, gets the job done into the final chicane. Very good move there by the number 67 driver getting past, well, number 87, sorry. As Maxwell, slow down for him, and it looks like a slowdown for Newman as well.
Yeah, both of them same place, too aggressive. It's so easy to pick them up if you're just trying to attack that final chicane and following the tracks of the driver in front. It's millimetre precision that's needed around this place, and as such, they are now back there in 15th and 16th positions respectively. Horror races they are having at this point in time. Meanwhile, though, Anthony Larson's having a really good race. He's in 5th. He's got Martin Sampson just behind in 6th. And on that last lap, Martin Sampson was probably, and in fact was, the quickest driver of anyone was the quickest driver of anyone that last lap.
Yeah, 1:53.6. That was a fantastic time there for Sampson, really putting him up there a full second faster than everybody else on that previous lap. So really putting a good run down. Has only got Larson for company in front of him, and Miko, meanwhile, is still battling with Bristow behind him, so not really under threat right now.
Yeah, Bristow goes through. Amico knows that they've got to just calmly make those places one at a time. Full reverse grids are very difficult to make their way through the field but Hefford is the key to this one. You've got to close down. Dan Hunt as well wants to react. He's not left himself long. If he closes a second a lap from here, he will have a chance at Steve Hefford on the final lap, and I'm sure that's probably part of the focus here as they all look to try and charge and deal with their own battles. Hansford and Maxwell also there, and Andy Maxwell has just had a struggle street style of day. You always have the one-off round as you go around and play in this sort of sim racing league. This is one which Andy Maxwell desperately wants back.
Yeah, Maxwell almost caught up with a contact between Hansford and Littler through the hairpin right there, and that's what put him on the back foot here as we go to a battle here between Mark Lutz and Dan Hunt right now. This should battle for 3rd place.
Yeah, it was a 53.6 on that last lap from Dan Hunt. Very nice. Larson took 3/10 on the 53.3. So it's telling you that everyone behind's wanting to close in. Steve Hefford doesn't have the turn of pace. A 54.7 on that last lap holds a 1 second margin plus now over Craig Jones, who's just starting to drift away from draft range, which certainly would help out. But it's about that run on the chicanes, and this is what Dan Hunt is thinking about. Chicanes set up the hairpin. I'm pretty sure he wants the hairpin or that run to that final chicane on track.
Yeah, takes a very unconventional line going into the 3rd chicane, but still stays behind Mark Lutz. Don't look too far behind, though. Anthony Larson is starting to reel these guys in as well now.
Yeah, exactly. Larson has been doing a fantastic job over the course of this race to close down the gaps and bring himself into position, and you're seeing it right now as they go into the hairpin. A lot of smoke from locked brakes as they try and funnel on through. The chance is there now for Dan Hunt, though, in 4th position to regain that podium spot in 3rd. He will have a little bit of help in front. He's being pushed a little bit there to that inside. Hunt, though, has got the line that he wants here. He's just got to be brave, and lifting off of it is Mark Lutz. He wants none of that battle. So Dan Hunt up into 3rd. He knows he can piggyback off of the back of Dan Hunt here and move himself up potentially to 2nd or 1st.
Yeah, maybe. They're still pretty close together right now. The gap has really come down between the top 5. Martin Sampson doing his best to try and close the gap, not really doing so. Hefford has got away from Craig Jones, and Jones needs to be careful now. He has 2, maybe 3 very fast drivers catching him very quickly now.
Yeah, but it's 3 laps to go, and that's the key here. Hefford's pretty much got the pace up now to a 54.2 on that last lap, which looks very, very good there for the number 72 machine. But, you can see how much Mark Lutz was pushing. He just rushes against the wall as he goes through turn 4 out on circuit, and troubles for Steve Cooley then over the opening sections. That's a slow down penalty.
Yeah, and that lets Pete Newman back up through, who's finally got rid of all the issues that plagued him at the start. Now he can set up in search of Roy Vervaeke for that 11th spot, but Newman having a very poor third race here, just like he did in race 1.
Yeah, just like that. And why goes Jones? Here comes Hunt down to the inside. He's going to pick this one off surely here for position. There's not much that you can do if you're the 74 of Craig Jones Result Clothing. He's going to have to sit behind then and say it's third position only at the moment. Larson deep on the brakes on the inside. Almost contact there with Lutz. Maybe even slightly to the rear, but it's just about held in position at this moment in time. Hunt in second, but Hefford does have the gap.
Yeah, and now Hunt has got 2 laps to try and close that gap. Question is, can he do it? It's not very easy. Despite that long straight, still not easy to close in 3 seconds. It's a pretty much a very large distance with only 2 laps to go.
Yeah, 2 laps to figure it out, and you've got to be absolutely on it. Let's see the gaps across the line. It was 3.1 between them. The gap's down to 2.6. That will not do for Dan Hunt. He has got to close down 1.3 seconds a lap, which at this stage means doing 153.3s on circuit to close down the margin. It will get easier within the toe, but he needs to be there. Pete Newman, by the way, just putting a pass on Roy Vervaeke. That is a pass for 11th place in the top 10 coming up with Ralph Cullinan. So Pete Newman, good recovery so far.
Yeah, look at the time he just put down as well, a 152.9. So Newman is not done here at all.
No, he's definitely not messing around here with these times. He's 3 seconds a lap quicker than both of the cars in front, Cullinan and Kellyman. So his eyes will be on 9th place. And Charles Kellyman, mark my words, he goes down to the inside. He comfortably gets by Ralph Cullinan, who was not going to put any argument in front of Pete Newman, because he is driving with absolute clarity at this moment in time. And there's not much you can argue against that. Dan Hunt, though, continuing his search with a lap and a little bit left to go. He's got the sights on, but again, it looks like he's got the gap under 2 seconds, but not much more.
Yeah, the gap now 1.7 seconds. It was 2.6 to start the lap, so he's taken about almost a second out of him now. He really needs to keep the pace going now and try and close that gap. But we've said it before, and we'll say it again here, Jake. Catching is one thing, passing is most definitely another.
Of course, the most famous of the late Murray Walker's Murrayisms. Other battles out there. Amico and Bristow have caught the back of Martin Sampson, and that battle's going to be quite interesting here. Amico's going to look to lunge for the inside. He's not got enough on the brakes, though, and that will be Bristow doing enough, sliding through the corner, though, out of the final section. Hunt's got to slow down. Oh, last place you want it. Dan Hunt's got a slow down penalty. He's been bitten by them twice in this race, and now he drops back into 5th position, and the battle going on with Sampson, Bristow and Amico. What dastardly luck there.
Yeah, and Craig Jones won't complain too much. He's got a decent gap, well, decent enough gap over Mark Lutz right now. He's going to be looking for a very good second place after starting on the pole here. So Craig Jones very much in control here. Not going to get the lead here. That's going to go to Steve Hefford, barring any problems. But Craig Jones looking very good here at the end.
I should point out here that Steve Hefford and Dan Hunt are in the same Discord conversation right now, so they would know very intently what would have happened between them there. So race still on then, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, still up for grabs as they drive through, and it's some usual suspects looking for big points as they go on through. It's been a great drive from Craig Jones in this one, in 2nd place, but it's not over because Lutz is closing. Larson is also closing on top of that as well. Steve Hefford comfortable at the front. We call him Mr. Race 2 sometimes because he knows how to win these sorts of races when he's out of position. Right now, he's completely in position. Amico down the inside of Bristow. They've completely given up the fight for those in front, and Bristow's run a little bit wide. Now here comes Mark Lutz then for 2nd. Question is, how are you going to defend if you're Craig Jones. Are you going to fight on the inside or the outside? It's middle of the road at the moment. Lutz has gone for the inside line, trying to search for this one outright. It's going to be very much a case of stay calm and hold your ground. Lutz has got himself a nose in front. On the brakes, he takes the place, but nobody was ever going to take it away from number 72. Steve Hefford will come to the line and take the win here in race 3. A great drive to the line it will be, and Jones trying to cover it off, will cover it off then against one Mr. Anthony Larson, who finishes with all 4 tyres in the grass.
Yeah, very close finish at the end there. Craig Jones could only hold on for 3rd place. Still won't be too displeased about that. He's very happy about it, actually doing some very uncharacteristic burnouts through the turn 2 infield.
Well, every reason to be excited. It is a race victory after all. Littler, Hardy and Toon we will wait for then to get over towards the line. But whilst we are waiting for them to finish for the final time tonight, we are going to go to our spinning wheel. We're going to see how everyone is going to stack up then for that final race and see where everyone will start.
And it's going to be the top 10 switching around. It's number 10.
Number 10, the top 10 only. So that puts Pete Newman on the wrong side of it there in 11th position overall. So confirmation of result, it is Steve Hefford who picks up the win, 15 minutes, 26 seconds, and does so by a margin of 4.4 over Mark Lutz in second and Craig Jones rounding out the top 3. Anthony Larson will finish off in 4th with Dan Hunt rounding out the top 5. Martin Sampson in 6th position with Vincenzo Amico there in 7th. Daniel Bristow will take 8th with Charles Kellyman 9th and Ralph Cullinan rounding out then the top 10, and we'll get the pole for the final race of the night. It will be Pete Newman in 11th, 12th for Roy Viveka in the end, with Steve Cooley in 13th, exactly finishing where he started, with Andy Maxwell disappointing back into 14th, Steve Hansford, Andy Littler, Carl Hardy, and Alan Toon, the non-starter, of course, a very incensed Andreas Katz after all of the racing that has been going through. But at least for the moment, we are going to be getting ourselves an opportunity to speak to a couple of drivers here and there. And, well, no better time than ever with a 4th place finish overall to get a chat with Anthony Larson here in the number 99 machine. Anthony, it looked like you had some really good pace there going towards the field. You were closing down in that group of Hunt and Jones and Lutz, but it just seemed that they managed to find that pace at the same time you were continuing that same trend.
Yeah, I was driving for, I think I did a 53.3 and a 53.6 back to back, and I closed in on them, and yeah, I just seemed to lose the brakes a little bit. And then I'm sort of stuck with their pace, but fair play to them. Fair play to Lutz and the boys.
Well, fair play to you as well. You had your best ever qualifying, I believe, in this season so far, a 4th position. So it's clear that you have an element of pace around this wonderful Gilles Villeneuve circuit. What has been some of the points around this streets track which you found to be more in your favour and style of driving?
Perhaps the chicanes, lining myself up and the carrying the speed in the MX-5, which have been, you know, the more races and the more weeks I'm doing the practicing, I'm learning to carry the speed through the corners and yeah, through the chicanes. And there's, I mean, 3 good chicanes here that you could definitely make up some ground and, you know, get time on the guys in front.
Well, with time to be made up, of course, you'll be starting 7th for the final race then
nice.
of the night. So you've got another opportunity to go through. It seems like tempers have definitely flared, though, in the field.
Yeah.
How's it been from an in-driving perspective, seeing a couple of drivers, you know, lose their rag a little?
Yeah, I mean, that's disappointing. I mean, it's racing, isn't it? It's close racing. MX-5, I mean, you just look at last week's race when there was 4 across the finish. You know, it's going to bring that element with it, unfortunately. But if people get upset, then that's what it is. But, you know, the boys have got a good system in place with the protesting and that and the penalising. So, you know, I'm sure it'll sort itself out. But for me, it doesn't really affect me. I'm cool.
Absolutely. And we've seen that with the way you've been driving so far tonight. Before we let you go, Anthony, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
Big shout out to you boys first. absolutely fantastic. Love watching it back. Love what you're doing. Love what the UK Sim boys are doing and Steve Effin and that. Absolutely fantastic and feel blessed to be a part of it. But yeah, big shout out to my team, Ronin Sim Sport. I've been back sim racing after a break for a year now, and it's down to them that they've helped me progress this far. So big shout out to them and the partners Peru Racing Team.
No worries at all. Anthony Larson there, 4th position overall. Good news is we get a second interview here right now. We're going to bring Steve Hefford into the conversation. Steve, you took the race lead then on lap 1. You didn't really look back from the point of taking that race lead. It looked like every time someone was going to get close, it seems like you put the magic oil slip down.
Yeah, it was quite a decent race. I was lucky at the start. Everyone bunched over to the left, and I ended up going around the outside. So, by the end of lap 1, I was pretty much at the front then. So it was just a case. I was pretty much flat out, to be honest. I'm not got the pace. I'm about at least a second off, and Dan was catching me by about 8 tenths of a lap, kind of thing. And he would have caught me towards the end. I think it would have been too wide into the last chicane, I think, if you hadn't got that slow down.
How difficult has it been for you this week, seeing as you've got no Jamie and no Peter to help you out?
Yeah, I struggled in quali, just the mental side really, but we do draft really well, and we've worked together for years, so not having them to draft with was, or even just to lap with was a biggie. So I started in the lowly place, but yeah, no friends on track really. But yeah, it's all good. Shout out to Jamie as well. He's had an operation today, so he's out of action. I think Pete was already going to be off, to be honest, but yeah, big shout out to the lads.
Well, it's nice to see that Jamie's been playing that game of operation then as he's been going through. So, Steve, P10 for race 4. How are you feeling?
Yeah, pretty good. The draft's in effect round here. A couple of long straights, so I see cars in front of the ladder. As long as the rungs don't get too far apart, you can make your way forward. So all it takes though is someone to spin out and that rung to be missing and the draft to be gone, and it's a struggle then. So yeah, hope the cards fall in the right place.
We certainly hope so as well. Before we let you go, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank?
Everybody again, and you guys. But yeah, especially Jamie and Pete today.
No worries at all. Steve Hefford there, getting a race victory. We're going to step aside for one moment. Back with more after this.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for the final time tonight here at the circuit. Gilles Villeneuve for your UK Sim Racing MX-5 Pro Series. Tempers have boiled, and now we've got ourselves a 10-car reverse to finish off proceedings. In sim time is back at 5:30, early morning conditions to figure it all out. The lights are on, and we are getting ourselves ready. Jake Sperry, Sam Cooper-Bennett, to bring you all of the coverage here, and a lot of chances are going to be putting themselves into play with action going on in the final stages. We had a really good chat there during the break, Sam, with Steve Hefford about everything and driver mentality going on through. And, you know, it sort of feels like the sort of league that just needs 5 or 6 more people in it. And then it's going to have this really strong collective of people understand where they need to be, what they need to do. And, you know, it's almost a case, as counteractive as it seems, that the higher positions mean maybe a little bit less for the top guys who are really going after everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to that point of the season where drivers are getting tired, and it is easy to get burned out and things like that. I mean, we unfortunately saw with one driver last week calling it quits for the season because of certain situations, and obviously we saw the situation with Andreas Katz here again tonight. It's very easy to get burned out and get very short-tempered, but like you said, more drivers in the field creates more competition, so we'll see how that pans out with regards to Season 3.
Yeah, we certainly will indeed. And on top of all of that, it's going to be a real treat to see. Now, the next question is going to be next week, because this week has been very interesting. We haven't been able to bring any updated standings over the course of the action that we've got. But the key is Sebring next week, bumpy, long. How's that going to play into the factors?
It's going to play a lot into the factors, especially with that run down that long straight towards Sunset Bend. It's going to be very spicy, especially through those very, very tricky S sections as well. Going to be looking to see a lot of passing and a lot of tight bends as well. Lots of different variety at Sebring, but the most overall factor is those bumps. It's really, really going to put them to the test there next week.
It absolutely is. And of course, the only place you can catch the entire season of your UK Sim Racing MX-5 Pro Series is here with us at ESBN. If you haven't had the chance to already here on YouTube, you can like, you can share, and you can subscribe for more amazing content brought to you by the team here. So work is very much going to be done at this stage. We are not too far away from getting this final race underway. No more penalties to go through. It will be a straight up race from now until the end with these 18 that are here in and looking for options and opportunities out there overall. So now you start asking the real questions here, because there are great drivers in position, and the two I'm looking at, Bristow and Amico, who have been pretty much in the thick of it for two very different reasons tonight. They are the two, third and fourth, who are probably eyes you look to most right now.
Yeah, they're going to be trying to pick up the positions and get their way to the front as quickly as possible, and most notably Bristow, who's been in an imperious form tonight, second in race 2, winner in race 1. He'll be looking for another one in race 4 here tonight, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely agree. This is going to be an important race in terms of the context for a lot, and especially the likes of those in 11th position, for example, trying to recover back through. Keep an eye on Pete Newman. We saw how quick he was going in race number 3. He did a 52.9 of all things, trying to get himself into play. So now is the time that they need to get themselves into game mode, because the checker flag is out in practice. We are going down to the grid, which will line up, ladies and gentlemen, then as follows for this final time. Ralph Cullinan and Charles Kellyman, the two amateurs, on the front row of the grid, with Daniel Bristow and Vincenzo Amico third and fourth. Martin Sampson will go from 5th, with Dan Hunt in 6th. 7th for Anthony Larson and Craig Jones in 8th place. Mark Lutz will start 9th, with Steve Hefford in 10th and Pete Newman P11. Viveka from 12th, and it's Cooley, Maxwell, Hansford, Littler, Hardy and Toon making the 18 drivers here today who will be checking themselves up onto the grid. Everybody on, everybody ready. Final race of the night. 8 more laps to figure it all out at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Salut Gilles, we're underway for the final time. quick on the green flag this time through. Bristow not maybe the most amazing start. Sampson's got a great one here as he immediately challenges Amico for that 4th position. Cullinan got a great start in comparison to the cleanest driver in the field, Charles Kellyman. They enter the S's for the first time, the Senna S, as they go through, and it is nicely sorted. Everybody is through cleanly.
Yeah, great start from everybody, and most notably for Dan Bristow. Really knew what he needed to do on that initial start and got past his greatest threat there, Vincenzo Amico, who himself is under pressure from another optical blue driver. That is Martin Sampson right behind him, heading up towards the 2nd chicane.
And immediately here comes the attack down the inside. Bristow moves up and gains the place, is up into 2nd position past Charles Kellyman, and immediately looking for Ralph Cullinan on this next charge. Slide from Lutz, that will allow Pete Newman a chance to go through. Dan Hunt now searching on the back of Martin Sampson. Here comes Amico's move now on the inside of Kellyman, and late on the brakes, he'll get it sorted here on the inside. Wonderfully concocted move. Hefford's got one as well.
Yeah, Hefford up to P8 now from P10. He got that P10 from the race win and the reverse grid, so he'll move his way forward, but he's got some moves and shaking to do, as he's got 7 more cars to get round if he wants to make his way to the lead, as they're all bunched up through the hairpin for the first time tonight in this race 4.
Yeah, mistake then by Amico. Very nearly clipped the wall on the outside, and that's given opportunity then for Dan Bristow to attack against Ralph Cullinan, try and get that place. Hunt, interestingly, running out of the draft, maybe looking at engine temperatures as something to keep in mind. Maxwell and Cooley as well, side by side as they battle, but here goes Bristow down on the inside and into the race lead. Amico must strike now.
Yeah, Amico really wants to make those moves if he wants to get up to Bristow, but here we go. First lap in the books, and again, Dan Hunt just dropping out of the draft once again. You might be right there. Engine temperatures might be an issue here if you're running too close to the car in front of you.
Yep, certainly could be. Another thing is also getting some perspective on who's in the train, because he's in 5th position right now. He might want to see where everyone is going out there at the moment and not give himself too close to the car in front, so he's checking up and making all sorts of mistakes. So that's definitely also in the back of the mind. And I have just had a look at Vincenzo Amico, who has dropped completely off the face of the earth. I think it's a technical dropout, and it is a technical dropout. So Vincenzo Amico then is going to lose points. What a huge shame that's going to be for him and his championship.
Yeah, and I thought it was me having technical issues for a second then, but it was actually Amico dropping out of the race. Unfortunate there for the leader of the Road and Sim Sport team. He will be very, very gutted about that one.
Absolutely he will, and he can't really shake a stick at it. That's not the result that was very much wanted overall. Train goes back to Mark Lutz then in 9th position, but Bristow has the lead. Cullinan 2nd, Kellyman 3rd, Sampson there in P number 4. On the brakes into the hairpin, then they go along and try and figure out whether they can make a move. But this is what draft trains do. You've got the same pace as the car in front, and ultimately nobody gets anything that works.
No, and it's in these situations where you really have to be a bit daring and try and put the moves on, especially on the run down to the final chicane, which they're doing now. And interestingly, again, Hunt just dropping out of line there for a second.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be too aggressive. He wants to attack this section of road, give himself room to attack. So that might be something that's very much in line with what's going through the mind as the charge continues here over towards turn number 1 once again. Now keep an eye on this. Sampson lunging for the inside. 2 optical blue cars on the podium.
Yeah, Sampson, this is his best chance to get a good result here in this 4th race. Has not really been anywhere with regards to challenging for the lead here tonight, so this will be a nice breath of fresh air for the number 80 as he looks to claw some points back on Dan Hunt, who's 2 spots behind him.
Well, as Bruce Forsyth once used to say, points do mean prizes. So we are going to see how this one is going to play into this one. Dan Hunt all over the back then of Charles Kellyman, who knows how to race and just knows how to quietly get on with it. We're on lap 3 here of 8 right now, and the focus is very much on 2 separate groups. Pete Newman is way down the order, by the way. He's back there in 16th place, so he's had a moment out there probably on one of his opening laps, put him way back in the pack, and Pete Newman, a 2:18 on that last lap. That would pretty much suggest why he is so far in arrears. He had a spin at the back end of lap 1 after contact with Mark Lutz.
Yeah, it was side by side through the hairpin that caused it, and it was just a little bit of a hip check there by Mark Lutz that sent the 118 around, and that was enough to put him at the back of the field. As we've had problems with one of the Ronin cars in the background there, I think that might have been Larson in trouble there.
It was. Larson was very much on the inside, contact with Dan Hunt. I don't know how much that's really affected front. We'll have a little look to see if anything has changed. Doesn't look like much there for Anthony Larson in terms of this one. Side by side though in front, as here comes Sampson trying to work the outside against Cullinan. The second position, they want it to be optical 1-2 at this stage. No guarantees. Here comes Dan Hunt though, by the way. He's wanting 4th position here on Charles Kellyman, who will leave enough room then as they go through. Here they go on the brakes into 1. Kellyman's going to leave the line, and Hefford's in too deep and contact there.
Yeah, and that is going to end their challenge for the front here. It's Carl Hardy almost gets into them as well, but no serious damage on either one of them. They just wanted to let the field go by and just carry on their merry way.
Yeah, just safely. If you don't move, you're not going to cause an accident, and that is the ideal way that you do it in sim racing. Either you take a tow, you don't move, or you try and get to the outside of the circuit as quickly as possible. Normally, drivers, when they have an incident and they're not thinking straight, Sam, they just go quick, turn it around, get going again, and don't think and cause secondary accidents. That's something that you have to say is good in this league. They do not cause secondary accidents.
I mean, it's just driver awareness. It's situational awareness when it comes to things like that, and you have to be patient. I know you're eager to get going, but you just really, when you're in that situation, got to pay attention to your relative. Just go when it's safe to do so, not when there's everybody else around you. That's how accidents are caused.
Yeah, accidents happen a lot, and side by side, Sampson around the outside of Ralph Cullinan, looking for this second position. Cullinan's not giving this one up though, and the charge is still very much on. There's battling all the way back down to the group containing Kellyman and Hefford and Newman as well. They continue all the way, but Ralph Cullinan is not giving this one up without a fight. He's going to try and move back to the inside here of Martin Sampson on the run to that final chicane. Of course, that beautiful wall of champions on the outside, and Cullinan's got it, you know. Brilliant work.
Yeah, and very close to that wall of champions, as you already mentioned, as now Sampson looking for a way by again, looking around the outside on the run down towards turn 1. Don't discount Dan Hunt either. He's looking for a gap as well, as here comes Sampson, going to have the line into turn 1. Great recovery there by Sampson, and contact through turn 1 as well.
Yeah, ever so slight between those two. It was a case of having to wait for Ralph Cullinan. He couldn't turn in when he wanted to. There was a Martin Sampson in the way. Now Dan Hunt's got eyes on that 3rd position, and Ralph here is holding the fort down for the AM category, saying this is what I have to do to defend against the pros at this point in time. So it's a Monday, Tuesday happy days at this moment for those in optical blue colours, because they are 1, 2 and 8 at the moment in this field, and they will have a massive points lead coming out of this for the team's championship.
Yeah, and that's also owing to the fact that 1, Steve Hefford is so far down the field, and 2, Hefford is missing 2 teammates here tonight, so that is really going to hurt him, and that might actually play into the hands of optical green as Cullinan is off.
Yeah, go skating through the grass at the 3rd chicane. We'll take a slowdown of about 2.5 seconds there, and that will drop behind then both Larson and Dan Hunt, and that's going to put Craig Jones into play. What a great race for, again, Craig Jones is having. Had no pace in qualifying. He's been getting better each race.
Yeah, he's doing well to keep Mark Lutz behind him as well, and remember the battle these two had in race 3, so it's battles resumed there between the 74 and the 333.
Certainly is, and those two battling, they'll certainly want to keep themselves in play for this one. Daniel Bristow out and clear though by approximately 3 seconds in this race right now, and is looking very much impervious to any sort of challenge from behind. It looks like they are on for the podium then. Larson, Hunt, Sampson, they're all going to be there. They're all going to be square. They're all going to be trying to show that they have got exactly what it takes. A bit of side-by-side, by the way, Roy Vervaker and Steve Cooley. This is Cooley looking to go down the inside here for 8th place. And ultimately, Roy holding it there on the inside. But again, these trying to work the outside line. They go door to door, but again, it's the inside for Roy on the run to 3.
Yeah, and Roy's going to take that away. Right behind him is Andy Maxwell as well, so Cooley needs to be very wary with the fact that he's got the AM category leader right behind him. As it all gets figured out now as the run up towards the second chicane.
Yeah, that second chicane coming up, and nicely all departed is that battle at the moment. Out on track again is Vincenzo Amico. He's 2 laps down, soon to be 3. So the issue's absolutely hurting in terms of the long and short. Hefford racing with Hansford now for position. Pete Newman has broken away from that group as well. But Mark Lutz, focus on him for a moment. Craig Jones in full defensive mode. He's trying to give Ralph a bit of time to get away.
Yeah, and like I said, it's hostilities resumed between these two. As here comes Lutz, big lunge down the inside into the hairpin, gets the job done. Very aggressive movement. Craig Jones just giving him a shot at the back saying, hey, that wasn't very nice.
That was my corner. I had it. It was mine. I saw it first. No, you didn't. You're going to have to stay like that, and you've got to learn to share the apex.
Yeah, and Craig Jones coming off the worst of that one. He's now got to give it up, and Lutz now going to set up in search of Ralph Cullinan. Just a battle going on here as Dan Hunt now looking to the back of Martin Sampson.
Looking but not buying at this stage. You ever go around a shop and just look for an overtake? Sometimes drivers want to purchase one and purchase a clean one. On top of that, nobody likes a dirty overtake. But at least for the moment, it is Martin Sampson holding the fort down in second position, just doing what he needs to do here. Gap's 2.6 to driver in front, Dan Bristow. Was actually quicker than Bristow on that last lap. Very interesting. And all of a sudden, Lutz is through on both Cullinan and Larson. So looks like the both of them have run into troubles. Key, Larson had a slow down penalty. Key, Cullinan chose the wrong line around it.
Yeah, he did. And amazingly, Larson was able to get back ahead of Craig Jones as well. So not all is lost for the Ronin Simsport driver, but the worrying thing is that that's the second time in this race we've seen Larson have a slowdown penalty. He really needs to take extra care through these corners.
Yeah, care is needed, as is the battle for second here, with 2 laps to go, a lap and a half now for Dan Hunt, who's searching to the outside, very nearly quarter panels there on Martin Sampson, but they're okay. Very heavy-handed through the curbs, though, and Hunt's got an angle to the inside, and this, you would say, for the 07 championship leader against the driver third overall, is a very, very nice move. Down on the inside, on the exit of that third chicane. He's been doing that all night long as there's contact almost between Larson and Cullinan.
Yeah, Larson just having to back out of that one and just bide his time now. But he's going to come back at it again down the long straight, down the back straight here as he comes down towards the chicane. Going to pick the outside line going into the chicane, which will give him the inside line in the second part. So let's see how this one pans out.
Wow. It's close at the moment, and it looks like it's almost all secured. But on the brakes, finally sorted it is. That is a great overtaking move, and it does ultimately put Anthony Larson up another position, and that is for P5 here in this one, with Bristow in total command at the front of this field. Chasing still going on. Cooley versus Maxwell. Keep an eye on this one on the final lap of this race. That one might be important for some AM category points. There's a slightly missed apex there. Goes from Steve Cooley, trying to figure everything out. Larson hasn't given this one up then against Mark Lutz, nor, mind you, has Martin Sampson against Dan Hunt in the fight for second and third. Dan Bristow once again is out and away and looking to try and walk away with one. Sampson so long in the braking as he tries to deal with Dan Hunt. It's almost like he's got faded brakes going through certain sections of track. And I tell you what, Anthony Larson further back in 5th position. He's not out of this one here. Ralph Cullinan might decide he wants to fight back. He's searching. Took 1 take to the inside, took 2 takes to the inside. 1 car's width given. Not confident enough to get down the inside and make it happen. So he backs off of the move, and ultimately that allows Larson the chance then to go and attack down at the next section of road, which will be Lepangle for the final time. Bristow already traversing that section. Dan Hunt okay, but trying to open up the exit here. A little bit tighter from Martin Sampson. He's got himself in the wheelhouse here that if he wants an overtake, he may as well go and grab it by the horns and the scruff of the neck if he wants to. Both at the same time, there's contact in the midfield because round goes Cooley at the hands of Maxwell, who is waiting up for Cooley to get back going again. Bristow all okay. Here comes Sampson on the run for second place, going to the outside, trying to get it done. For Dan Bristow, it's exactly what's needed, but through the final corner, into the wall of champions goes Dan Hunt, and Sampson is going to sneak away with a 1-2 for Optical Blue as they come to the line. What great racing we've seen, and a big slowdown at the end for Mark Lutz, and that costs the top 5.
Yeah, and that moves Anthony Larson up to P4. Ralph Cullinan, after all is said and done, gets a great top 5 here, and that'll get him some much-needed points back on the AM category points standings. Craig Jones going to be P6. Roy Viveka, very quiet race he's had in this one, picking up P7.
Yeah, picking up P7. A lot of drivers maybe a little bit unhappy with the way that their races ended up going here towards the end, but some wonderful action that we had. Confirmation of result then. It is Dan Bristow, 15 minutes, 19 seconds, quickest race of the night, won by 5.6 over Martin Sampson in second, who just managed to beat out Dan Hunt there to get onto the podium. Anthony Larson gets fourth, with Ralph Cullinan rounding out the top 5 after starting on pole. Craig Jones in 6th, and Roy Viveka in 7th position quietly. Mark Lutz with the penalty moved down to 8th place, having to slow before the line. Otherwise, it would have been a 30-second plus extension to his time, with Pete Newman coming up with 9th. And Carl Hardy, what a great top 10 that ended up being over the line. Steve Hefford ends up with 11th, losing 1 place, with Steve Cooley 12th ahead of Andy Maxwell. Both drivers losing it on the last lap after Maxwell ran into the back of the 87. Charles Kellyman gets 14th, ending up in contact with Steve Hefford, with Steve Hansford, Andy Littler, and Alan Toon there, the last finish on the lead lap. Driver 2 laps down, still circulating on track, and just coming to the line right now to finish off everyone is Vincenzo Amico, and that will hurt in terms of points overall for the championship. So it's something that we definitely are keeping in mind as things go forward. We are going to get a chance, though, to chat with the driver. We'll grab the driver who finished off in P2, Martin Sampson. Martin, let's talk about that final little attempt of an overtake. Looked like it got a little clumsy towards the end, but that's the way that final chicane ultimately opens up those sorts of moves.
Oh, yes, it does. And I think, we're both racers, and you got to go for it. Last lap, last race, and if you don't try and go for it, then you might as well not be racing each other. So, yeah, I haven't watched it back yet, so I don't know, because I know he tapped the wall, but I don't know whether that was because of me or he just had a bit too much speed. I don't know, but yeah, it's good fun.
Well, good fun indeed. You certainly had your work cut out in the early goings, trying to move your way up through the field. How important has it been today, especially for the team's championship, that it seemed like everyone who was of any real significance or challenge either A, hasn't turned up, or B, hasn't had a great night?
Yeah, well, we knew that straight from the start. As soon as we saw that most of the Momo boys wasn't around, and we knew that we couldn't let this opportunity go and all that. We had to get as many points as can, make the gap a bit bigger as well. So yeah, we knew that from the start. So we're just glad that we all finished every race in the end.
Sebring next week, a very bumpy, very different circuit in respects to the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. How is preparations going for that, and how much are you usurping all the information this season off of the likes of Daniel Bristow?
Oh, definitely. And not only Daniel Bristow as well, it's the likes of Dan Hunt and Pete Newman as well. When we're doing practice sessions, I'm watching all their laps as well, watching their lines, seeing where they break as well. So, a lot of my speed that I've got now, I've probably got them to thank for it as well, because I've been watching them for so long. I just can't help but learn something from them. So yeah, so hopefully we have a good one next week.
Well, the floor is yours here. Shout out sponsors. Who gets it done for you?
Well, thanks to the Optical boys and all that. Charles, Andy, and Steve, and my teammates Daniel and Roy Viverke, and for you guys doing once again an excellent stream.
Can't believe you had to think about Roy there for a moment. Martin Sampson picking up second position then at the end, having a really strong time of things. But Sam, final thoughts. We take our leave then here today from this wonderful, wonderful track overall of the Gilles Villeneuve. It's Sebring next time out. How's that going to play in terms of difference?
It's going to play out very differently. Obviously, you had the smooth corners around here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It's going to be a very different ordeal altogether. Obviously, it's the same context in corners, if you think about it, between Sebring and this track. But again, as I mentioned earlier, those bumps are really going to play havoc with these drivers next week.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Next week, of course, is the time and the place. Join us here for the UK Sim Racing MX-5 Pro Series here on YouTube. If you haven't had the chance already, like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content brought to you by the team here at ESBN. Massive thanks to go to everyone who's got it done at the UK Sim Racing League with all of the work that goes in. I'll tell you what, it's going to be a long week as well with all of the dissecting that will need to be done today. From Sam Cooper-Bennett and myself, Jake Sperry, it's been a pleasure to bring you all of this amazing action. And we, of course, will see you in a little bit. But please remember that this is sim racing. Even though it is a element of racing which we all love and we all enjoy, you can only enjoy it if everyone else is firstly A, enjoying it, and B, respecting the rules of the road. Stay safe, enjoy yourself, and we'll see you next week.